Don't you dare, ref. That's he got the ball. Good morning to all Tottenham fans around the world and welcome back to the Irish Hotspur with your boy Dave. Tottenham are back in European action tonight as we host Swedish side Elfsborg at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in the penultimate game in the Europa League group phase. A win would secure a top 8 finish for Tottenham and send us straight into the last 16 without the added strain of a two-legged playoff. And this would not only help ease the workload on our current situation, but also give fans something to celebrate on the European front. Elfsborg will not be pushovers though, because they do come into this game knowing a positive result could secure them a playoff spot and will come into this match with plenty of fight and up for the challenge. Postecoglou comes into this game facing increasing pressure around his future at Tottenham, and securing a victory tonight is absolutely crucial and non-negotiable in Spurs fans' eyes. So let's take a look at the Tottenham predicted lineup that I think Postecoglou will go with to get the job done tonight. Starting in goals, Postecoglou will be forced into a change in goal as Antonin Kinski is not registered in the Europa League squad. This then leaves a choice between Guglielmo Vicario, who has recently returned to training, and Brandon Austin, who has performed admirably when called upon. I think this game will come too soon for Vicario, which means Brandon Austin will come straight back in. Now, two things key to watch out for in this match for Brandon Austin is Elfsborg will look to counter-attack, so Austin will need to stay alert for any balls played in behind our high defensive line. Additionally, Elfsborg are strong on set pieces and actually set up similarly to Arsenal, so Austin will need to be proactive, come out to claim and punch balls away where possible to be able to neutralise that threat. His ability to be able to deal with these situations will be crucial in maintaining a clean sheet. At right back, Pedro Porro will retain his place because Jed Spence and Sergio Reguilon are not registered in the Europa League squad. But Porro does provide a headache moving forward. Porro is undoubtedly one of our most talented players going forward, but defensively he's been costing us goals, games and points. And for me, he needs to show more solidity in his defensive duties, especially with the emergence of Jed Spence. Against Leicester, he was at fault for both goals. For the first, he didn't get tight enough to the winger and looked to cut out that cross. And for the second, he made a sloppy, under-hit pass towards Bentancur, right after conceding, by the way, which I think is absolutely unforgivable, which led to El Canous going on and finishing that move. But after conceding the goal, you really should be more alert and determined, not complacent, so nowhere near good enough from Pedro Porro. But going forward, like I said, he remains a threat. He delivered a great cross for Richarlison's goal, played some lovely passes to release the forwards, and even hit the bar with a free kick from distance. But what frustrated me the most was a missed opportunity where he had the chance to square the ball at 2-1 down across the 6-yard box and went for a selfish shot, trying to catch the goalkeeper at the near post. And for me, it's that kind of decision making that I think is just poor and quite selfish. And I think Porro really needs to tighten up his game defensively and with some of his decision making going forward. But I think this game he really needs to ensure that Elfsborg remain at bay down his side. And if he doesn't improve, I think he does risk losing his place to Jed Spence, who has proven to be more solid defensively, and let's face it, doesn't give away the ball anywhere near as much as Pedro Porro going forward either. At right-sided centre-back, Christian Romero is still not fit enough to make his return according to Ange Postecoglou, which means Radu Dragusin will retain his place. And against Leicester again, I didn't think he had a great game. I thought he was often pulled out of position and gave away the ball several times. I mean, I've seen the guy try and hit a big crossfield pass about 60 yards. The guy can barely pass at 10 yards, let alone 60. So I don't know why he's attempting that. All you're doing is just giving the opposition back the ball and saying, just come back at us with another wave of attack. Not good enough from Radu Dragusin. But I do think he now gets one last opportunity to prove his worth before Romero returns. Long term, I have my doubts whether Dragusin is simply good enough for Spurs, and if his agent keeps making noise in the background, I'll have no problem in cutting my losses and moving him on. At left-sided centre-back, I do think Mickey van de Ven is set to make his return to the Tottenham side tonight. In Postecoglou's pre-match press conference, he basically said that Van de Ven is fit and ready to play after 10 days of training with the team. Now, I'm really excited to have Mickey van de Ven back, as I do think it allows us to return to playing that high line and applying more pressure on the ball higher up the pitch, rather than dropping so deep, which clearly doesn't suit us. We haven't been able to hold out games by doing that. Now, it is worth noting Mickey van de Ven will not play the full game, so I do expect him to feature maybe for around 45 minutes and then be taken off at half-time as a precaution. But nonetheless, his return is an absolute huge boost with tough matches against Brentford, Liverpool, Villa United and Ipswich Ipswich, all on the horizon for the month of February. At left back, Archie Gray has been playing consecutively in the last 10 games for Spurs, and for me, he looks like a player that really could do with a rest, and I think this game is a huge opportunity to do that, even if it is only for 45 minutes, which means Ben Davies will be shifted out at left back and will start here. Now, for me, Davies worked very hard against Leicester, putting himself in some great positions, but I do think he could have done better for both goals. As much as I blame Pedro Porro for both of them, I do think that Davies also has to take a lot of responsibility. He looked like the player that I've often criticised in years gone by for making avoidable errors. For the first goal, he should have done much more to cut out that cross. It should never have reached Vardy. Yes, Kinski could have done better, but Ben Davies, with a player of his age and experience, should have been able to cut that one out. No problems at all. And for the second goal, he just completely stood off Alcanus instead of closing them down and just said, look, have a shot at goals. Nowhere near good enough. He needs to be more proactive, get out there, put his body on the line and try and get that block. But that said, I do take into account that Davies has been dealing with injuries, and it's likely meant that he wasn't supposed to play the 90 minutes, so I will give him a bit of a pass on this one and not be so harsh on him. Interestingly though, I do think when I look at it, Ben Davies plays much better at left back in an attacking system. His best times at Tottenham have been under Ange Postecoglou and Mauricio Pochettino. So weirdly enough, I'm okay with Ben Davies at left back in this Ange Postecoglou system. At some point though, I do expect him to be moved back into centre back once Van de Ven is taken off, with Gray coming in at left back. Moving into midfield, and we are left short here with James Maddison now confirmed being out for up to 2 to 3 weeks with a calf strain, and Papa Matasar still carrying a knock alongside Yves Bissouma, so we are left short in numbers. But retaining his place in CDM is Rodrigo Bentancur. For me, when he's fit, he's an automatic starter in the starting lineup. I think he's been Spurs' best player over the last 2 games since his return from concussion. Everything comes through him. It's clear that all the players trust him with the ball, and he turns over a lot of ball as well in that midfield. An all-action midfielder, and for me, he brings a bit of class on the eye to that engine room. Now, moving into one of the 2 number 8 roles, and it's interesting, because Sarr, he came on against Leicester, but let's face it, Postecoglou told us after he wasn't fit, he was carrying a knock, and it was a failed experiment. He offered absolutely nothing. At the end of the day, it was counterproductive. And the fact that Bissouma didn't even make the pitch at all, considering our situation, I think it also alludes to that he is nowhere near ready to start games of football, which means Lucas Bergvall will continue his run in the side. This will be his 7th start in 8 fixtures across January, and he has been absolutely brilliant in the midfield since given the opportunity. And I have no doubt there'll be extra motivation here for Bergvall, considering that Djurgårdens, the team where we bought him from, is Elfsborg's rivals. And to complete the midfield, as usually is the case when James Maddison isn't selected or isn't available, and with him being out for 2 to 3 weeks, I do expect Dejan Kulusevski to be replaced from right wing and brought back in here into the midfield to bring that creativity. And despite Kulusevski needing a rest, it's clear and obvious to absolute everyone that this guy is absolutely running on fumes right now. However, he is the most creative player in the team, like I told you last week in the predicted lineup, and that's why Postecoglou trusts him. And if anyone's going to step up, it is going to be Dejan Kulusevski, especially trying to unlock this low block. And I think it's something that the whole of Sweden will want to see. It's absolutely begging for Bergvall and Kulusevski to be unleashed in the 2 number 8s, 2 number 10s, whatever way you want to disguise it, going forward. And I think the whole of Sweden will definitely be tuning in to watch this. It'd be a good glimpse of what they can offer for the national team moving forward, but also for Tottenham Hotspur, and it's something I'm very excited to see. And moving into the forward line, again, we are reduced down to bare numbers here available for selection, and we will start with left wing, and I do think our captain Son will start here again. Now, I will say, to be fair to Son, I thought in the first half against Leicester he looked sharp, he looked lively, and almost looked like the old Son again, putting in a lot of energy. However, I think when Postecoglou moved him into up front in the second half, I think it took Son out of the game completely and actually made Leicester's job a whole lot easier. I bet Ruud van Nistelrooy couldn't believe it, because we know with Son, he's not a striker, he's not a guy that can hold up the ball, he's not a guy that can win headers, he's not a guy that can get control of the ball, spin off his man, play other people through. He's a guy that likes to get on the ball and run at players. So please, for the love of God, can we stop this experiment with Son through the middle? It does not work. Let's put him back out where he performs best. Now in this game, Elfsborg will set up low block. They will look to contain us just like Ipswich have done, Crystal Palace have done, Leicester have done. and they will set up with a block through the middle, so all the space for us to be able to break them down is out wide. One thing I want to see Sonny do is not be predictable, look to cut in and take all these shots. At times, go on the outside and look to put the ball across. That's where this game will be won. Get on the outside, put the ball in behind the back line, let our players go and attack it. At right wing, with Kulusevski dropping back into the midfield, I think Mikey Moore will come in on the right-hand side. Now, look, I agree with everybody. I think he performs much better on the left-hand side. However, with Son there, I think you've got to accommodate him, which means Mikey Moore will have to play out of position. And this will be his first start since the Tamworth game, and I think he's earned it, you know. I'm really excited to see what he can bring to this forward line. I think he'll bring an air of freshness to it, if you would like. I think he offers something completely different with the ability to be able to cross the ball with the inside of his boot and the outside of his boot very, very accurately, while also being able to beat his man, while also possessing a goal threat. His brief cameos off the bench has shown his creativity, and I have a strong feeling we could be in line to see Mikey Moore's first senior goal for Tottenham Hotspur, and I'm sure it will be the first of many. And then that brings me into the main guy, the guy tasked to bring all the goals to the team. And there's a bit of a dilemma here, because Dom Solanke is out until March. Richarlison felt something in the Leicester game which required for him to come off, and we've already rushed him back and pushed the limits of the amount of football he was expecting to play on his return. And with Solanke being out to March, do you almost hold Richarlison back with the likes of Brentford, your cup game against Liverpool and that coming up? Or do you go with someone like Will Lancashire, who, it's fair to say, I don't think Postecoglou has shown too much faith in him? Well, I think, personally, Postecoglou will go with Richarlison and look to try and get this job done before half-time, and look to pull off the likes of him, Son, Kulusevski, Mickey van der Ven, and then look to get the youngsters off the bench to be able to contain what we got. I know many people would disagree with this. I'll probably disagree with this myself, to be fair. I think there has to be great precaution taken around Richarlison, especially considering it's not a given we're going to sign another striker before deadline day. So I would almost hold Richarlison back rather than take the risk, and I would much prefer to play Will Lancashire. However, I am predicting what I think Postecoglou's going to do, and I think this is the lineup that you will see. And I think it's very important that it's either one over Richarlison or Will Lancashire, because I think the game will be out wide for Tottenham. You need a vocal point to be able to aim for. When we put Son through the middle, it's counterproductive because the wingers get the ball and they've got no focal point in there. So for me, it has to be Richarlison or Will Lancashire. Look to get plenty of balls in there, feed the big man, and hopefully they can bag us a couple of goals. But guys, that's my predicted lineup. That's what I think Postecoglou's going to do and my reasons behind it. Please give me yours in the comment section below, along with your reasons behind it, if there's anything you agree or disagree with. And if you could, please run the like up on your way out. That'll be absolutely brilliant, along with your score prediction as well. But guys, that's it from me. I'll see you back here at 5 p.m. for the pre-match build-up, and hopefully see you in the last 16 of Europe. As always, come on, you Spurs.